Doug Keck, and welcome to a very special edition of EWTN's Bookmark. We're speaking with Reverend Geno Sylva, STD, member of the Pontifical Council for the Promotion of the New Evangelization. He is live in our Rome office, and we're here to talk to him all about the Jubilee preparations and some other materials that are available through EWTN's religious catalog promoting the Jubilee. Father Geno, welcome to EWTN's Bookmark. Great to see you.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's wonderful to have this opportunity to share with you and all your viewers a little bit about this exciting time of grace we're experiencing.
Now, Father Geno, I can tell, people can tell from my accent where I'm from, I can tell from your accent that though you may be of Italian heritage, I don't think you were born in Rome. Am I correct?
No, that is correct. I am born in northern New Jersey. I'm a priest from the Diocese of Pastoral, half Italian, half Polish. So I'm that North Jersey mix.
So you got the North Jersey mix. And also my understanding is you're also one of those odd people who's a Met fan and a Giant fan, like I'm odd because I'm a Jet fan and a Yankee fan. So so we have certain things in common.
Yeah, it is strange. We're both a little strange with our preferences of sports teams, that's for sure.
Right, exactly. Now, Father, one of the things we wanted to talk about, and such an important this year of mercy, we wanted you to tell us about the Jubilee Year from your perspective. You're in the heart of it. We here in the U.S. are excited about it, but we're sure it's nothing compared to the enthusiasm that you're seeing for this wonderful event that's happening in Rome as we speak, correct?
Oh, correct. I mean, it's just an incredible sense of energy that continues to grow since Pope Francis opened the Holy Door on December 8th. I mean, the city is abuzz with pilgrims arriving from all over the world to really have an opportunity to make a pilgrimage through the Holy Door and also to attend a number of events that continue to be celebrated here in Rome with the participation of the Holy Father. In fact, we've had over 1 million pilgrims already registered for the events that have taken place over the last month and a half. So there is certainly a buzz, certainly excitement. Just last week, Doug, we had the first major event, which was the Jubilee for pilgrimage workers. And people came from all over the world to really discuss and to celebrate the importance of making pilgrimages to holy places in one's spiritual journey of faith. So we had people, it was incredible, from the Philippines, from Wales, from Scotland, from all over Europe, from Latin America, from North America. It was just incredible.
Let me ask you, Father, because it seems like the Holy Father kind of sprung this upon the church maybe a little bit over a year ago, wasn't it? Maybe March of last year. You're talking about all these people who are working on this. So obviously this was a major undertaking. So how much time have you had to be working on this? 7 days a week, 24/7 to make this happen?
Well, as the president of our Pontifical Council, Archbishop Fisichella, always says, we're a small group, but we're enthusiastic and spirited. And that's true. I mean, we're a small dicastery here at the Roman Curia. And while we're so honored that Pope Francis has entrusted us with all the organization of the Jubilee, it really has provided us an opportunity to reach out and to ask for the assistance of so many other people. So for example, Doug, every single major event that we are organizing, Archbishop Fisichella has put together a planning commission of people who are involved in that particular area of specialty. So for example, the Jubilee for deacons. I mean, he's invited people who have worked in the diaconate and understand the diaconate to help us put together the particular event. So again, it's an opportunity to reach out to get other people involved. But yeah, we're working pretty diligently, but it's exciting. It's to have this once in a lifetime opportunity to be a part of something so special in this time of grace.
Let me ask you, Father, also, how do you see the tie-in between the whole idea, and what do you think the Holy Father had in mind with all of these events, having to tie in a sense, this Jubilee of Mercy with the new evangelization? How do you see those things coming together?
Sure. It's very, very important because from everything that the Holy Father has said, he really sees this whole Jubilee, the focus on God's mercy, as really being placing God's mercy and acts of charity, acts of mercy at the heart of the new evangelization. That when we love, when we are instruments of God's mercy as a church, it's then that we can really open people to a greater receptivity to receive our invitation and our welcome either home to the church for the first time or back to the church again. So for the Holy Father, from the first time he spoke to us as our Holy Pontiff, he spoke about the importance of mercy, and he's woven that, the central theme of mercy, through the whole theme of evangelization and new evangelization.
Right. Now, here we are. It's in February now. The Holy Year basically runs through the end of November, right? Basically. And
Yes.
So we're in the midst of it. There's a long time to still go. There's a lot of events that are planned to be happening that we'll be covering on EWTN, hopefully as well, that are happening in Rome. But a big part of those, as they talked about, has to do, they talk about the Holy Doors and the Jubilee Doors. Now, people can actually go to different parts
Sure.
of the world and actually in their own diocese have an opportunity to go through it locally.
Right.
But if you go to Rome for the actual Jubilee Doors, what are the Jubilee Doors and how does one go about? Because I understand maybe you actually
Sure.
have to register to be able to go through. Is there that many people
Yes.
trying to go
Yeah.
through it? Really?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's important for us to just note that the Holy Father has intended this Holy Year to not only be celebrated here in Rome, but in all the particular churches around the world. That's why he's asked every bishop to open a door of mercy in his own diocese. So again, there's really a push to celebrate it all over the world, in every diocese, but also in prisons, in hospitals. The Holy Father wants to make sure that there's this witness of God's mercy spread through all places of the world. But yes, indeed, here in Rome, the Holy Door of St. Peter's is quite special. And what we've done, what the Pontifical Council has done, has reserved a specific pilgrimage walkway from Castle San Angelo all the way down the main street, which is called Via della Conciliazione, that ends up in St. Peter's Square. And then there's a direct route through the Holy Door that leads the individual pilgrim to the altar of the confession, where that person can then profess the creed, say the Our Father for the intention of the Holy Father. And what we're doing is we're asking every single pilgrim who would like to go through the Holy Door of St. Peter's to register online. Now, they can register online at www.im.va. And what they can do is they can say, we'd like to make a pilgrimage on Tuesday at 2 o'clock. And what we'll do is we'll give that person and his or her group a number. And they'll show that number at the entrance to the reserved walkway. Mm. And what's incredible, Doug, is that we want to make sure that we ensure that this pilgrimage that each participant is making goes undisturbed, that it can be done reverently. And to this end, Doug, it's going to take over 100 volunteers a day for the entire year to help coordinate this and ensure this. And to be honest with you, it's one of the most inspiring things in the world to see every morning as I go into the office at 7 o'clock, and it's cold here in Rome now, these volunteers from all over that are giving up a week of their time to assist pilgrims to make sure that their pilgrimage to Rome is truly an occasion to deepen their faith and to encourage and strengthen them to be new evangelists. It's unbelievable.
Now, Father, you always specifically say pilgrim when a lot of times people think of being tourists going to Rome, but they really are pilgrims, and that's why that whole sense of, like you said, that walk, that pilgrimage, and allowing them to have a prayerful time, right, is so important.
Right. It's so important. And to this end, and you reminded me of another good point that I forgot this would be important for your listeners and viewers, is that we've opened a pilgrimage welcome center on the main street, Via della Conciliazione number 7. So for example, if any of your viewers find themselves in Rome and they didn't register online, all they have to do is go into the welcome center and we'll schedule a time for you. And also, it's a place of welcome where pilgrims have any questions about. For example, there are now 3 Jubilee churches, all very close to St. Peter's, where pilgrims can go and celebrate the sacrament of penance and reconciliation in their own languages. They can go for Eucharistic adoration, and our volunteers will assist the pilgrims in knowing where those churches are and how to get there.
Right. That's great. And one of the things in preparing for this, that you worked on a series of books with our Sunday visitor, Pastoral Resources
Correct.
for Living the Jubilee. There's about 8 books, I think, in total, and we'll put them up on the screen. People can see them right now. And the titles all have to do with mercy. The foundational one seems to be Celebrating Mercy, which I think is the one in the series that starts things off. It starts off with Celebrating Mercy and the Saints in Mercy. We can run through them a little bit. Also,
Correct.
Mercy in the Teachings of the Pope, Confessions, the Sacrament of Mercy. Whose idea was it? Was this a cooperative idea? Was this something the Pontifical Council came up with and looked for a partner, or how did that work?
Well, I think when we get back to the real impetus of Pope Francis, is that he wants this Jubilee to be a real spiritual journey, a real pilgrimage of faith for each individual believer. So in recognizing that this was the will of the Holy Father, the president of our council, Archbishop Geno thought that it would be really helpful to all people around the world to have pastoral resources that could really guide them through a deepening and a more profound understanding of the mercy of God and how the mercy of God is expressed, how it's lived, how it's understood. So taking from the desire of the Holy Father, it was then Archbishop Fisichella who really pushed this initiative forward and then reached out to people who he thought were great scholars in each of those particular areas having to do with mercy, whether it was on the teachings of the fathers, whether it was on the parables of mercy or psalms, and worked with those authors to produce these books. And I have to say, it's so exciting to receive emails from all over the world from people who are asking now, can we translate them into the other languages? Because, of course, we have them in German, Polish, Spanish, Italian, and English. But now we have so many different Episcopal conferences saying, can we translate them into our languages so that the people in our conferences can also really dive into the depth of mercy through these pastoral resources? Yeah,
you answered a question I was going to ask you, is how many languages they were available in. Obviously, the English editions are available through EWTNRC.com. Now, was this seen in your mind and in the Archbishop's mind as being something geared towards a parish group or to a pilgrimage group, or is it also something that an individual could use?
Great question, Doug. I think both. I think it's interesting in speaking with so many people from the English-speaking world, I know that there are a lot of initiatives going on in dioceses who've taken these books and are using them for catechetical formation. I know there's schools that are using them in some of their curriculum for the students. But really, when we look at the original kind of purpose of the books, were also for individual reflection and meditation. So, that was how it was intended, and now we're seeing these books becoming part of a lot of continuing faith formation programs around the world.
Right, one of the ones, and there's various titles that we put up on the screen, and we can run through them, of course, but one of the ones that struck me, and I was thinking in terms of people coming to Rome and whether you see that, because you alluded to the other Jubilee churches, and you talked about confession. And number 4 is confession, the sacrament of mercy. And it's clear that the Holy Father believes those two things are intrinsically tied together. Are you seeing an uptick of people going to confession as part of this pilgrimage for the Jubilee?
Well, I think one of the things we have to recognize is that part of the impetus of the Jubilee, and we saw this even before with the initiative of the Holy Father for the 24 Hours for the Lord, is to place the sacrament of penance and reconciliation back in the center of pastoral life. As we all know, the practice has really dropped over years, and so now to place it back at the center, and the whole idea being now is to keep inviting people back to the sacrament of God's mercy, so that recognizing that when they receive sacramental forgiveness and mercy, they're better equipped, more at inner peace to share that same mercy with others. Just last week, as a part of the initiative here in Rome for the pilgrimage workers, we had a whole afternoon where the pilgrims could go to one of the 3 Jubilee churches. And it was just inspiring to see people from all over the world coming back to the sacrament of penance and reconciliation. And I think it's something that is going to be a continual focus as now we get ready to welcome the Missionaries of Mercy. Well, the Holy Father gets ready to welcome the Missionaries of Mercy just in 2 weeks to Rome, where he's going to give them that special mandate to go forth and be that living expression, a precise expression of God's mercy around the world.
Well, when you point that out, the mission, who are those people? Are those lay people? Are those priests? Who is that?
No. The Missionaries of Mercy are priests who have been nominated by the Holy Father to receive his special mandate. His special mandate wherein they are that living sign of God's mercy going out to the particular churches. And these are priests that we see in the Bull of Indiction that are priests that have been nominated because they are compassionate confessors, that anyone who comes to the confessional will receive that welcome and that grace of God's forgiveness. And they will be given the faculty to forgive those sins that are reserved to the Holy See. And the Holy Father will give them that mandate on Ash Wednesday. And he'll be meeting with all of the Missionaries of Mercy, these priests from around the world, the day before, on February 9th. And Doug, I have to say, I mean, it's just incredibly inspiring to see the countries that these missionaries, these priests are coming to Rome from. And what will happen is they'll come to Rome, they'll receive the mandate from the Holy Father, and then they'll return to their home countries. And what will happen is, on a reserved page of our website, the Jubilee website, a bishop will be able to access the list of all these Missionaries of Mercy, and they'll be able to contact that particular priest and invite that priest to his diocese to give a mission on mercy, to preach on mercy, and most importantly, to hear confessions. So the priests have to make themselves available for this important charge and duty of the Holy Father, not only through the season of Lenten season, but also through the entire Jubilee year.
Well, let me ask you, I think, EWTN, obviously, our commitment to support the Holy Father and commitment to support the Jubilee, promote the events, and people can go to our EWTN.com website and see all the events we'll be carrying throughout the year for this Jubilee of Mercy. But we also are playing a small part, I think, something to do with the stoles related to the priests. Is that true, or am I letting the cat out of the bag? Maybe you can mention that.
You're letting the cat out of the bag, but it's wonderful, the generosity of EWTN to assist us with the Missionaries of Mercy and with providing stoles for the Missionaries of Mercy around the world. So that was a wonderful, wonderful gesture, contribution from EWTN to the cause of the Jubilee, especially the Missionaries of Mercy.
Well, I can speak for Michael Warsaw, our chairman, and myself, and all of us here at EWTN. We were honored that we were even asked if we could participate in such a way as this. And of course, Father, we also have, plaques, holy cards, and other books and materials that we're offering related to the Jubilee. Also, our programming, we have on-location talks, documentaries, interviews, of course, like this, all promoting the importance of the Jubilee and also giving it a historical perspective so people understand how it fits into the church. The other thing I was thinking about, too, was when you were talking about mercy, was the fact that here we have St. Faustina, the first real saint of the new millennium. We have John Paul II. There's a continuity here, this whole idea of mercy. Let me ask you, from our present Holy Father back through Benedict to John Paul II, who really was the one who really first started talking about mercy, and obviously the Chaplet of Divine Mercy, so popularized also through EWTN and Mother Angelica's love for it. Why do you think mercy is so important today?
Well, I think, I think we have to look at it from the perspective of the world in which we live. Pope Francis has said recently that even the very word mercy is almost disappearing from our language. I mean, let's face it, we live in such a violent world, and we see this all too often. Mm-hmm. And yet, how is it that we can change hearts? How is it that we can defeat violence? It's by, first of all, orienting ourselves towards the mercy of God, feeling that tender and that close touch of the Lord. And then we're strengthened to be those instruments of mercy. And with the Holy Father, he continues to talk about this, that for us to change the world, he says it so beautifully that wherever there are Christians, there need to be oases of mercy. As a church and as Christians, my very life, my very community, people must feel that mercy. It must be not only felt, but it must be perceived as something real. And when we can do that in our own limited ways, in our own broken ways, we can change the world. Mm-hmm. We can make the world less hateful, less violent. And that's why there was such an urgency to have this extraordinary Jubilee of Mercy. And that's what we heard the Holy Father say when he announced it. We can't wait. This world needs mercy, and the church needs to be that spearhead to really promote it, to be instruments of it.
Right, and of course, you know, as Catholics, I think, and certainly people watch EWTN, they're fairly familiar with Divine Mercy, the chaplet. They follow what the Holy Father's saying. Obviously, his visit to the United States raised awareness for a lot of people in general. Are you also seeing, besides church groups coming from various Catholic parishes and pilgrimage groups, are you also seeing non-Catholics maybe coming to Rome as well as part of the Jubilee?
Yeah, it was a great question. And again, I can speak just for the event from last week, but it was beautiful to see people from other faith backgrounds and traditions that have come already to make a pilgrimage. And again, mercy, as the Holy Father speaks about it, that greatest attribute of God, you know, the God who is love expresses himself as mercy in the person of Jesus Christ, is what unifies people. And so we're seeing it. And to be honest with you, I've gotten a number of calls in the office saying, you know, Father, we're not Catholic, but can we come to the Holy Year? Can we come to the Jubilee in Rome? And we're like, come on, everybody's welcome. Everybody's welcome.
Right, exactly. And I think that's probably one of the greatest messages that we want to get out to everybody, that the Holy Father is saying, and that he's just inviting in the name of our Lord, is that everybody is welcome and the church is welcoming, and whether it be for people, certainly with the new evangelization, which in many cases was focused initially on trying to get Catholics who've kind of wandered away from the faith to get reinvigorated in their faith and to be welcomed back, and let alone be open to all the other people out to make sure they understand what the Catholic Church really teaches and believes, rather than maybe what they read in some of the headlines.
Exactly. That's a great point, Doug. And that's why this Jubilee is also important in another way, in that it allows us to really share the truths of our faith. The whole idea being, we are merciful, and as merciful as we are, it helps us understand the reasons why we believe what we do. That doctrine and truth is so essential because it frees us, it inspires us, it enables us to be ever more merciful.
Well, let me ask you, Father, as we're winding down here, we thank you so much. You've got such a busy schedule. We're happy you were even able to make the time available for us. If you wanted to be able to talk to our entire audience out there on radio and television, and when we run this on the internet as well, and to say, give out the information that they need to understand why they should be thinking not only of participating locally, but maybe coming to Rome this year, and what website they should go to get information.
Right. I think one of the incredible opportunities about coming to Rome for the pilgrimage is it brings together, in a very poignant way, a sense of the universality of the church that one feels here in the Eternal City. You feel welcomed and embraced by Holy Mother Churches. The colonnade, Bernini's colonnade in St. Peter's Square, welcomes a pilgrim. who is traveling on this walkway with people from all over the world. And so gives us an opportunity to be here, sense the universality of the church, return home with an even broader perspective of what it means to be church and who we are as faithful believers. Because again, we're called by Pope Francis to go out into those peripheries. And those peripheries are not just physical boundaries, but they're emotional and spiritual. And so being here, I really think, gives us a sense of church and mission to say, I need to invite someone home to the church who maybe is just apathetic, who just sees life as no purpose. And again, by coming here, I think it encourages us to do that. So please check out our website, the official Jubilee website, www.im.va. IM stands for Jubilatio Misericordiae in Latin, so we shorten it. And you can get all the details on how to register for the Holy Door, how to register for the major events that are here in Rome. And also, on behalf of Archbishop Rino Fisichella, Doug, I want to thank all of EWTN for all that you continue to do to support the work of the Pontifical Council for the promotion of the new evangelization. I think back to the Year of Faith and all you did to help us with the Year of Faith as well. So thank you for being such great collaborators with our dicastery.
Well, thank you so much, Father Geno Sylva, for taking the time. It's our pleasure, member of the Pontifical Council for the promotion of the new evangelization. And thank you so much for your wonderful work. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you, Doug. God bless you.
You too. And that's from Rome, Father Geno Sylva, as I said, from the Pontifical Council for the promotion of the new evangelization. This is an EWTN Bookmark, a special one, which we just did live from Rome. And don't forget, there's some wonderful set of books all about celebrating mercy through our EWTN religious catalog, EWTNRC.com. Thank you for joining us here on this special edition of EWTN's Bookmark.